Hello, combatants. Kamidogu appreciates you being here today. If you've been sticking around the channel for a while now, welcome back. If you happen to be a new face and stumbling onto this particular special, it's wonderful to have you. We hope you thoroughly enjoy the experience, and if you do, know that we have plenty of other fun episodes to check out. We've said it before, but we can't reiterate it enough. Please be sure to tell your friends about the podcast, and if you could click follow or subscribe, it would mean a lot to us. Sadly, co-host Christopher was not able to participate for today's event due to some time limitations. However, we can expect to see him very soon. Friends and newcomers alike, we have a tremendous episode underway today. If you are a fan of the short series Mortal Kombat Legacy, I can happily say you are in for a treat. Joined with us today is the magnificent and most talented Samantha Wynn. Samantha played the Princess of Edenia. We all know her well in her distinct blue attire, the legendary Kitana. Over 10,000 years old and still kicking butt. Samantha blew up on Machinima's short series, appearing in both seasons of the show's run. She has really risen in the movie industry, being a part of some big names such as Army of the Dead, Justice League, Man of Steel, and much more. Samantha is a well-known martial artist in addition, and specializes in wushu. But with that said and out of the way, why don't we get straight to it? And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, everyone, and here we are, accompanied by Samantha Wynn. Samantha, your portrayal of Kitana was so much fun, and I really appreciate your dedication to the Legacy series. It means a lot having you on Kamidogu today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor after the lineup of amazing guests I've already seen you've had.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, no, this is absolute pleasure. So it's always good, first of all, to have another Canadian on the show. Tell us a little about your upbringing in Barrie. Funny enough, I actually live only a couple hours away from what they call the nickel capital of the world. Let's test your trivia. Do you know what that is?
Oh no, it's been so long. I'm so embarrassed. What's the nickel capital?
Let me give you another hint. Inco Superstack.
I am a shameful Canadian right now. I have no idea. What?
The greater city of Sudbury.
Oh my gosh. There are so many people from Sudbury that make their way to Barrie and back and forth. You know,
oh, yeah.
All families, it's all the same. But oh my gosh, that is amazing. It's rare that I find another person from the suburbs. I'm sure you probably say Toronto when people ask you where you're from. Like, no one knows.
Typically, no one knows who Sudbury or Barrie. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So beyond that, tell us some fun memories you have in the earlier stages of your life, along with where your passion for martial arts really began.
It is the Barrie Jiu-Jitsu. It's where I started my martial arts journey with Sensei Frank and Sensei Gary. It was an amazing place, and they just knew how to train with kids. It was more about the work ethic and the discipline and having fun and just instilling all of those great habits into you when you were a young kid. But aside from just martial arts in Barrie, I'd be at Centennial Park. I grew up on Cardinal Street, and there was Cardinal Park, I think it was, that I used to go to like every day with my friends after school. You know, before everyone was on the internet and their phones all the time. We used to have to go to the park every day. So that was my park of choice. I've been knocked out at that park from trying to jump off of the tire swing, and I hit a pole and I woke up on my couch.
That brings back memories.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's probably much more concerning now, but at the time it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you remember when they had like those like metal slides where when it was a really hot day, you'd burn yourself going down them? They got rid of those too.
Yeah, now they have all plastic slides.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. What really fascinated me is that due to your nature in wushu, you were part of the 2008 Beijing Olympics and were fortunate enough to win multiple medals, alongside the '07 World Wushu Championship prior to that. I can imagine this must have been a colossal highlight in your life. How honored were you to be held in such high regard in that art form? And surely you must have had to go through a lot in order to, get to that point.
Yes, there were many a birthday party that I missed because I was training, and it was pretty much all I remember about my childhood, at least from age, I'd say 10 until 17, 18. Those were the hardcore training years while you're still developing and you're growing your muscle. I'm sure it affected the way that my bones grew too, just because it's such intense training at such a young age. But it's something that I obviously would not replace for the world. The experiences of training until you feel like you can't move anymore, of wanting to cry because you don't want to get up in the morning just to go train again, but then pushing through those barriers to then reap the rewards of those benefits and see actual payoff for your hard work was something that I think forever changed me. And so now it feels habit to work hard and then you see payoff. Work hard and then you see payoff. And athletics is just such a perfect example. I mean, you train, you gain muscle, you feel the payoff. It's such a textbook way of developing that. So I've brought that with me through life, and I feel like it's helped set me on a clear path, and then not to mention allowed me the career that I have.
Yeah.
Everything is martial arts in my, not everything anymore, thankfully, but so many of my big projects and my starts and my foot in the door came through my martial arts accolades from before. And actually the first time I even got to enter into the industry, it was because a prominent team of martial artists and stunt performers in Los Angeles saw a YouTube video of my martial arts and then reached out to me via Facebook. It looked a little dodgy at first. I definitely had to double check that with my parents. But that, and then the experience of getting to travel and meet high performance athletes from 90, 100 countries, all in one place, who have worked equally hard, was something that is just irreplaceable. So many people from different walks of lives, different financial backgrounds, different ethnicities, different languages. A lot of times we didn't speak the same language, but you still find a way to appreciate each other and communicate. And it's a core part of who I am.
Wow, well said. That's incredible. In regards to Mortal Kombat, I understand you were introduced to the series through your brothers. Is that accurate?
This is very true. I think they introduced me to it as an ego boost. So that they could destroy me in the video game. Oh my God. Yeah, they would set up shop and give me a controller, and I was way too young and I had no idea what I was doing. So I was button mashing, but they were They were highly skilled, and sometimes when luck was in my favor, the button mashing would work.
Sometimes it works.
And then you do out of nowhere some amazing move, and you have no idea how you did it, but then you just furiously keep hitting them more, hoping to replicate it. That was my strategy, and it's sad to say that I haven't evolved much since then.
Which games did you regularly play growing up, and did you have any favorite combatants?
Well, I actually did play Mortal Kombat a lot, and Kitana, being, the good princess, was very much a favorite character of mine, but I would also play with Melina.
Yeah.
And then, sorry to say for the Mortal Kombat fans, I would also play Street Fighter. So Chun-Li in Street Fighter was another favorite character of mine.
Nice.
With Sega, I play Sonic the Hedgehog, because what kid doesn't play Sonic the Hedgehog? And a few sprinkles here and there. But beyond that, at a certain point, I just got so busy training that any fun activities just kind of fell to the wayside.
Before you got the role in Legacy, did you see any of the classic movies By happenstance, did you manage to speak or run into Chalissa Soto, Dara Tomanovich, or Audie England, who played the roles beforehand?
No, I never got to meet them. But of course I've seen the films. And they came out when I was pretty young, so I grew up on them. You know, when you have the VHS tape and you pop it in and you watch it over and over and over when you're 7, 8. Now, I probably shouldn't have been watching them that early, but I was. I was the third child, so I think my parents were tired of monitoring that stuff by the time I came around.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I never got to meet them. But there were so many stunt performers that I came across later in life while I was working that were part of the Mortal Kombat series and worked on it. So I've heard so many stories, and it's been very near and dear to my heart. But I have not met any of the Katanas.
Oh, interesting. Excluding the previous incarnations of the character, what type of research did you do for Kitana, whether it be strictly playing the games or watching history videos online? Do you feel you ultimately gained a comfortable understanding of the combatant's background in the end?
I think I did. Thankfully, there have been so much content prior to Mortal Kombat Legacy that researching the character, there is just information galore. So I got to look at all the websites, read all of the history of Edenia and the family's backstory, and so many portrayals of the character ahead of time, so many video games to look at. So I feel like I was definitely gifted an abundance of material to help prep for it. And then, you know, as most actors like to try to do, I wanted to see what my own spin or my own portrayal of it could be. So without directly copying, you know, you want to take everything you can into consideration and see how it feels with you, because you're always adding a piece of yourself to every character. So it's just going to be different with every person who plays her.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure your experience portraying Kitana continues to stand out as one of your favorites. How did this whole project really get thrown in your direction in the first place? Was it Kevin Tancharoen or Larnell Stovall that originally approached you?
You know, I don't know what the conversations were behind the scenes, but at the time I was training at 8711. It's now it's a big production company. At the time, it was the training facility in the not Manhattan Beach area, but farther south. And Larnell was there training. He was always around. And Kevin Tancharoen did pop in one day, and he was just watching everyone train martial arts. And I think it was there that maybe he'd seen me or seen me training. And I imagine that he and Larnell maybe had a conversation before production reached out. But it was production reaching out to my reps at the time to send over the sides and said that they were interested in seeing me for the role. So I know that somebody had come up with the idea prior. I just don't know who. I think a combination of Kevin and Larnell.
Oh, okay. Legacy really held a huge record for quite some time in terms of the amount of views and the popularity amongst the web. How did you feel seeing that the series was such an explosive hit with audiences? I'm sure you must have been extremely excited to get the call later on for season 2.
Oh, yeah. It was such a neat experience because at the time, there weren't many web series and streaming wasn't a big thing in the world. So it was a question mark. Anytime something wasn't just a studio TV series or a network TV series or a big studio film that is released in theaters, you kind of wonder where it falls or how popular it really will be. But I think it was one of the first to break those barriers. So it was a total surprise to all of us. Of course, we hoped and believed. And with Kevin at the helm, I knew that it was very possible just because his visuals, his understanding of story and of the human body and how to shoot it, it really was such a treasure to be able to work with him like that. And, you know, as a fellow filmmaker, to be able to study him.
Yeah.
But, it was continually, every time a new barrier had been broken, it was just exciting all over again, calling and messaging between the cast to be like, oh my gosh, did you guys expect this? I didn't expect this. And then to have the DVD and Blu-ray come out after, and it just ended up being so much bigger than I think we knew was possible at the time.
Oh, well, that's lovely. That's what you'd like to hear.
Yeah, truly.
When we had Michelle Lee on the show, she stated that she sees you as a very dear friend. What was your time like working on the series with her specifically? Do you have a certain moment on set that shines as your most dearest?
It's funny, it's not a moment on set per se, but it was moments prior to. I think it was the little gestures of on the way to work, if somebody's stopping at Starbucks, it seemed to be like just between us two, hey, what do you want? Or I remember she liked marshmallow dream bars, the like Rice Krispie treats from Starbucks. Yeah. So I'd make a point to try to bring in Rice Krispie treats for her. And she knew my favorite coffee order and little things like that that make you feel like sisters or like you're a real family for it. But not to mention her reputation preceded her. And I already knew who she was. And she was very beloved in the martial arts community already. So it was just, it's so nice to be able to work with someone, A, that you respect, B, that you personally, genuinely just get along with as a human being, but C, that helps empower you and set you on your own path. I think it can be very intimidating as a young person coming into the industry, who you meet, who's out to get you. You hear all these stories, who is genuinely empowering you. And I just feel so lucky that everyone on that set was really so supportive of each other, supportive of our journeys. And Michelle was no exception to that. She was very much a friend and a woman's woman, and we were a team. There was no competitiveness between anybody, and it just warms your heart because you hear so many horror stories, and it's nice to know that that's not the case. And you know what? That really hasn't been the case for me on 99% of the things that I've worked on. So I don't know. I seem to be skating this very lucky line, and I'm happy to stay there.
Was it a lot of fun doing your fight scene? How long did it take? Was there any like bloopers or mishaps doing it?
I'm sure there was. I think the fight scene was, I want to say 2 days. Because one day was primarily Melina and Johnny Cage, and then I show up, and then our fight scene. So I think we got a full day per fight scene, which is so generous. And contrary to the first season, I think we had 2 hours in -20 of blizzard to do the fight scene, and the ground of the stage we were fighting on in season 1 was ice. It was pure ice, so we were slipping and falling all over the place. It was an amazing feat that Kevin captured what he did in that period of time. So
that was in Vancouver, right?
That was in Vancouver. Yeah. It was a night shoot in the middle of the winter. Yeah, and he had big hot water bottles that we could hug and shake in between takes. And then when he'd call action, we just have to stop our body from shaking profusely. But that's what it is. That's why we love it, the challenge. But season 2, it seemed that perhaps Kevin did not want to have to shoot that way again. So there was plenty of time allocated, and the fight scenes. It really is a dance between two people. So depending on your communication abilities between you, not just verbally, but physically, that is what makes it. And thankfully, between Casper and Michelle and myself, we all got along so well that when it came to performing, I think we were already picking up on all those little subtle cues, like when the person is going to throw the punch, when they're taking a step, when you need to close the gap distance-wise. There were all these little subconscious physical movements that you have to do in a fight scene that a lot of times you don't realize. Just keeping the correct distance between you so that your punches sell. Little things like that. And we well equipped and well prepared by the time the day came that I think we got to just fully invest ourselves emotionally in the acting part of it. And it's so rare to be able to do that. Usually you're so worried about being accidentally punched in the face or something.
Sure.
You always have to keep an eye on that, and it's hard to fully immerse yourself in the emotion of it. But I feel like that was one of the rare circumstances where we could just fully invest emotionally and trust that everyone is doing their job. And it was loads of fun.
And Casper Van Dien, I hear, is just a legend to work with. Did he ever make you like break character? Did he inject some improv that was sort of just sudden? He must have made you crack up.
Always. On screen or off screen, Casper, he's a character and a hoot. And yes, his improv skills are unmatched. It's hard to remember some of the details because now it's been a long time.
Been a while.
I think many of his one-liners he'd improv'd, whether it was just an action of maybe slowly taking off his glasses and looking over. Just him doing that can mean so much, and you have such a big reaction to it. So between that, I think he shouted out a couple of the lines that made it to the final edit, which were also improv'd. I wish I could give you guys specifics. It's just
oh, that's okay.
My memory now. But yes, Casper is a legend, and it'd be hard to work on a super serious project with him because he would be making me laugh the whole time.
In terms of the fatality that we've seen initiated on screen for the fight scene, could you fill the fans in on the specifics of how the scene was shot? Was there a creepy-looking dummy that was used at certain points? Did you ever find yourself getting sick to the stomach or anything like this?
No, I feel like my exposure to violence at a young age really prepped me for being able to handle that kind of gore, and just being a Mortal Kombat fan. I loved the fatalities. I was so excited about it, and I felt like I got one of the best ones, at least on paper. I was like, I have a decapitation, like, yes. So I was nothing but excited. And I believe the way it went down is that they had the top half of a head made with like a prosthetic or a dummy head with the hair and makeup, and top half of Melina's head. And they just had creative editing. So I think we did the take a few times from different angles to see where it would sell. And then we did it a few times where I think somebody might have been in a green suit holding the bit of the head. So when I sliced, they did a little throw.
Okay.
So maybe they weren't in a green suit. But it was something of the sorts. It was another person that had to hold this half of the dummy head and give it a little toss for timing. And then, masterful editing.
Yeah. Intriguing. I thought the chemistry between you and Michelle was honestly the highlight of the show. And quite frankly, your scenes were the best part of season 2. In addition, I absolutely loved the set for Edenia, the lighting and ambiance for all the shots. Well, of course, the brutality of your fight scene. Did you really get a kick out of how they basically upped the ante for everything in season 2? And I suppose conclusively, would you say you preferred one season over the other, or?
I would say that. I felt like there was more to work with in season 2. And like you said, the locations, the way that they handled, well, Edenia wasn't in season 2, actually. That was the tournament island. But I felt like there was more to work with in season 2 in terms of story and interaction with other characters, and being able to play Kitana and Melina as adults instead of kids. It's just, I think, more fun to be able to ground into yourself as a woman a bit more, even though at the time I was pretty young. So I feel like I grew up appropriately with the character. But what I do hold near and dear to me about season 1 was the feeling of true guerrilla filmmaking. like being so pressed for time and having such little resources. And it was, Kevin had done the short or episode with Baraka and
Rebirth.
and Johnny Cage. Yeah, Rebirth prior. So there was a little bit of proof of concept, but being season one, you don't always have the enough resources, which was the case for us. So being a smaller budget and being so much more pressed for time, it was a little harder to enjoy the story part of it. And then half of Katana Melina, and I think it was for budget reasons, we ended up having to do the animation for certain scenes for it. So
yeah, it
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't as much actual on-set time for Katana, for my character. So it was obviously loads of fun, but more was better for season 2. And then getting to work with Michelle and Casper, and they're still friends today. So it really, you can't beat that. The human experience of it was unmatched.
That's right. If the show had received a considerably bigger budget, or a season 3 had properly ensued, would you have really liked to see some of the other signature moves of Kitana on screen, such as the fan lift or wave punch?
Yes, definitely. And it's especially because I have training in fan work prior to working on Mortal Kombat. So I was pretty eager to show some more moves. I'm like, I've actually been training for this. Who trains for this? But I guess we will never know. But yeah, I hope it's not too late. I always hold out a glimmer of hope that maybe they will bring it back. Maybe there will be, especially with the trajectory of Kevin's career. Yeah. It would be so lucky to have him directing more Mortal Kombat now. He's a visionary. He's amazing, and he's proved himself. Not that he needed to, but he has just shown his filmmaking ability and artistry over and over and over. And he's so highly respected amongst many directors and filmmakers, and any show would be so lucky to have him. So if he's still passionate about Mortal Kombat, maybe there's a way to bring it back.
Hey, keeping the fingers crossed. That's incredible. Yeah, I really hope so. He really is talented. He rather recently did that episode of Boba Fett. It was just so well done. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd gotten to work with him years later again on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. So he's really gone from big show to big show, and I know there's another one that he's in. Maybe they're done shooting by now, but I probably shouldn't talk about that because the reasons and the breakdowns that aren't for the public yet. Yeah. But yeah, I see his name all over now, and it just makes me beam with pride.
Did you happen to add any small bits of improv to Kitana at any point in the series, or did you maybe suggest anything to Kevin?
I felt like it was already written in a very grounded and honest way. I didn't feel it was necessary. I know it can be tempting to want to interject like the little bits of you, but I really felt like it already did such a wonderful job at telling the story and who Katana is. I don't recall feeling like I wanted to at any point. It's just more about the little looks or the shots where, say, we were entering the tournament world. You have your mark for blocking, but what you do or how you feel or where you look, that's all up to you. So there are plenty of ways to feel yourself and to add the bit of you without needing to change or add dialogue. So I felt like that was more appropriate for this specific case. It's not always the case, but I did really like this script and their already written portrayals.
Beautiful, beautiful. I understand during your time filming some of the scenes when you had to use the fans, you actually struggled a little bit because of the harsh temperatures, like moving around the fans. Does that sound accurate?
It was, because it was so cold. You know how your motor skills, like you can't move your hands or your fingers very easily. So just trying to grip the fans and be able to move my fingers in a way when your hands are freezing, it's really difficult. So that, now that you say it, I forgot, but that was a challenge. I remember constantly trying to warm up my hands so that I could do the choreography. It's like trying to do finger dancing when you have a freezing hand. You can't do it. That, and then I don't know what the reasoning was, but props had, I think, been attempting to put the blades on the tips of the fans, but the way that they were secured, it just wasn't working. So there was a lot of last minute adjustments that had to be made just so that we could have the right fans. I think the first version that they gave us too were really heavy. So some of the choreography, it was just slow and wasn't workable for it. So then they had to get other fans that were a little bit lighter, and then the blades on the tips were falling off all the time every time we blocked them. So it was a bit of a process, and it was all on the day as well. So, tensions are high, time is pressing, clocks are ticking, but we managed and we made it work. And when it's all said and done, you don't even remember those things. Once you solve the problem and move on, it's done.
I believe you really enjoyed the 2021 movie of Mortal Kombat. Were there any scenes that you viewed as really special in that film?
Well, I mean, the one with Katana's fans in the background, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. I think some of my favorites from there, I really enjoyed Kung Lao in that. I loved all of his
Max Wong.
Yeah, all of his little nods to the video game. It felt, the way that he played it, I really felt like I was in the video game, in this amazing balance of like, yes, the cheesy video game like moves, but it made you love it. And the audience, I remember I was in the theaters watching, and everybody was cheering so loud for all of those little video game homage gestures that could be cheesy if it were any other movie, but being Mortal Kombat, it just made it. So those were standouts for me. And then I think Ludi Lin did an amazing job, and the action sequences as well, and the martial arts in it. I think there was much to love.
Mm-hmm. I bet you're looking forward to the sequel.
Oh, I am. Oh, and then Hiro as well. I'd gotten to work with him on Army of the Dead, so seeing him as Scorpion, I think he was my favorite character. I might be biased. Because I have such an enormous respect for him as an actor and his entire body of work over decades. And then his martial arts skills. I had no idea. He's such a humble, grounded, quiet person on set that I just did not expect him to be such a badass. And I loved it. So Hiroyuki Sanada was standout for me as well.
Mm-hmm. In terms of Kitana, you've mentioned during promotion of Legacy 2 that you were playing quite a bit of Mortal Kombat 9 at that time. I know you keep incredibly busy with your line of work, but did you by chance, just even for a little bit, happen to play Mortal Kombat 11? And what do you think of Kitana's evolution over the years?
Yeah. Mortal Kombat 11, which year was that one out?
It was just a few years ago, so it really wasn't all that long ago.
Okay, I think I might have.
The last one.
Yeah, I might have. I don't think I've played any of that one yet. I have all the intention, but whatever I'm working on at the time definitely takes priority for any video games or research that I'm doing. But what was the question too? Over the years, how I've enjoyed
her evolution.
Her evolution. Yeah, It's funny. It went one way, and I feel like it's starting to come back the other way now. Like the costumes were getting more and more revealing.
I know.
And leaning a little bit more on one side. And now they've brought it way back. So that was something that I've noticed that I think I appreciate too, because even getting news of being cast originally, I was like, so which version of the costumes is it going
Let's
to
hope it's not Mortal Kombat 9. That was
I
just
know.
gnarly, that one.
I was like, oh. Yeah, my 20-year-old self was a little self-conscious. But I think seeing Katana's, I think the evolution of her moves, I've always enjoyed that because aside from the costumes, I do feel like the fatalities got more and more creative and gorier and gorier. And so that's why we play it, folks. At least that's why I played it, for the fatalities. So it always just got better and better from my perspective. And I am curious to see every video game, even if I haven't played it, I like to try to see what the fatalities are in the new versions of the games.
Yeah.
And that's something I very much look forward to. So I don't know story evolution, what happened in the most recent game, but I have an idea of the costume.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The story was all over the place in that one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been many versions now, so I imagine it must be hard to make each one different, but still honor the heart of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, you haven't been to a whole lot of conventions. However, a massive one you attended to, of course, was revolving the Legacy panel. Do you have any delightful memories attending this, or have any notable Mortal Kombat fan encounters, whether it be through here or outside of the con?
Yes, actually. I think that Mortal Kombat Legacy is the one project that I get recognized for the most, which surprises me because especially now, I was so much younger at the time, and it was a web series, which I still have in my mind, like, oh, not many people probably saw it, but it was the same numbers as like a box office opening, which is
it was huge.
Yeah, so it does blow my mind every time someone was like, "Were you Katana in Mortal Kombat Legacy?" I'm like, "Wow, how did you know that?" But what was notable about Comic-Con in 2013, I believe it was honestly just being near Casper the whole time and seeing all of the fans of Starship Trooper. Like the amount of people walking up to Casper for Starship Trooper, which I guess shouldn't surprise me because that was one of the movies that I'd throw on over and over and over with my family growing up too, which is another reason I was so excited to be able to work with him. But it truly warmed my heart to see how many other people loved that movie as much as I did. I really didn't know that it had the cult. I would call it a cult following. Or not even cult, I feel like mainstream following that it does. That one really surprised me. So just being witness to that was pretty neat for me. And then now there have been chance encounters here and there with different people that have recognized me. But I remember when I was working on Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's assistant at the time, we were all training and prepping for the movie a lot. But after a couple weeks, he was like, "I just have to ask." And then he's like, "Were you Katana?" And he's like, "I thought so, but I wasn't sure, and I know we're at work." But that one really surprised me too, because that's in a totally different context. And
wow.
We were prepping. I wasn't wearing makeup. I was just in athletic clothes and ponytail, totally out of that world. But that one always struck me too. And I was like, wow, it really reached so far and wide. I had no idea the scope that it would be.
I've also seen a decent amount of cosplayers out there who have an attire similar to the Legacy rendition. Surely that must be flattering.
It is, actually. I feel like most times I see cosplay of Katana now, it's the Legacy costumes. And I'm like, oh my God. Especially because making them, there was a bit more back and forth. And I know that myself and Michelle, but Michelle, I think, took the reins more for that. She was the more confident. She'd been working in the industry longer, and it was easier for her to speak up than me. But there were costume tweaks that we had asked for that made it. So I do feel like we were actually a part of that costume truly, and to see so many people cosplay with it and make identical out. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, they wear it better than I did. Like they look great, and it's identical. It's the exact same, and I just can't. To be a part of pop culture in that way is so special.
Really neat. Yeah. There were plans originally, actually, for Kevin to direct a feature film after Legacy, but unfortunately that fell through. Were you ever in discussions with him to possibly return as the Athenian princess?
I don't know that it got so far to get to the casting stage per se, so I never really spoke with him about it. But I know it was something that all of the cast, we were really behind the scenes, like messaging, hoping, sending articles back and forth. So it was definitely something we were all very excited for Kevin, and I still hope it happens. It's not like Mortal Kombat dead by any means. It's only evolved. So why not?
If in any capacity whatsoever, if you were asked to return to the Mortal Kombat, I'm giving it that would be a heck yes.
Oh yes, easy.
Would your sights be sold on, I want to be Kitana again? Or is there any other character you really, really enjoy that you'd love to portray as well?
I think I don't quite have my fill yet of Kitana, and I do feel like of the characters' personalities, it still resonates with me the most. Like I try to be
awesome.
Good. I try to be a good leader. I try hard. So I do feel like perhaps Kitana's character would still be suiting, but I think Melina's would have the most fun for sure. But I think perhaps a spicier person might do it more justice. I like to, in my wildest dreams, be like that. But I think it would come natural to some other people. But that's not to say I would not have a lot of fun and give it my best shot. But I think Kitana would resonate more with me, or Queen Sindel. Now that I'm in my 30s, add some grace freaks and throw back my shoulders, keep my chin up. That would be a lot of fun too. But royalty.
Hey, I guess we'll see what the future has in store.
Yeah, indeed.
Samantha, your acting career has really blown up the past few years, and I couldn't be more excited for you. You've had the opportunity to be a part of some massive DC titles such as Wonder Woman, Justice League, Man of Steel, and even the TV series Arrow. My question to you is, did you always admire superheroes as a young child, and would you consider this achievement a dream come true in your eyes?
1,000%. I used to play with superheroes and action figures in the bathtub. I grew up with two older brothers who were obsessed with Superman and Batman and all of the characters. There was Wonder Woman figure in the household. Playing the video games. It's just such a big part of pop culture. I don't know how you can grow up probably from... Well, they've been around a long time, but certainly since the internet and television, and not know everything about those specific characters. So, it was very much a dream come true to be part of the DC universe in so many different worlds as a Kryptonian or Amazonian or the Ninth Circle and Arrow. Yeah. And I think as an actor especially, that genre is just so exposed to the world. It's so popular. There are so many eyes on it. Opportunities there can really set your career on a whole other trajectory. So I feel extremely fortunate that I've been able to work in this genre with all of the exposure and then opportunities that follow, because there are just more eyes on it. So more people have an opportunity to see your work. And I think a big part of performing, yes, is the expression. Like, you just feel like you need to get it out there. So whether anyone is watching or not, most actors, I feel like, would be doing this, even if it was in their backyard for their parents. But it is very much a treat to have more people be able to see your work and be able to see what you're offering and feel what you're expressing and feel what you want them to feel and appreciate it and get to see or understand that little glimpse of you. So that is a very special part that the comic book genre, I think has a unique edge in that factor. Yeah. Makes more sense in my head, but it's one of the rare genres where it truly has the ability to reach so many people, and I think it's unparalleled when it comes to that.
Yeah, but speaking of that opportunity to really express yourself, how did it feel seeing what was a deleted scene in the Zack Snyder version of Justice League? I mean, what an incredible intro.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it continues to blow my mind over and over, honestly. You might think after working on a few projects, like, oh, you've done that. But no, every single time it's equally exciting. And I mean, that one was special for so many reasons. Finally being able to see Zack's vision of it after such a long fight from his fans in order to be able to see that version, and all of the other things that were happening, with Warner Brothers and, mm-hmm. studio conflict at the time, it was extra special to be able to see that specific scene. But that one brought back so many memories from On the Day too, because it's funny to me that it's so heartfelt and touching on screen, but mm-hmm. the reality when we were shooting was that they had to dig out a hole that I could lay in so that the weight of this fake horse wasn't crushing me. But once they put me in the hole and put the horse over, I was kind of stuck there for the day because it's so heavy. Like, they're not going to take me out every time. And it was real soil around us too. So I'm stuck under this horse for the entire day and no one's looking down. So you're not having conversations with people. You're just kind of in your own world. And then there were a few times where there were beetles in the soil and they would be slowly crawling towards me and I'd see them, but I can't move. So just dodging beetles with my head. And sometimes somebody would notice and flick them away from me. But that was the reality of shooting it on the day. So it's always fun to see what the director can do with that, how he can really tug at people's heartstrings and make it this emotional moment when most of the time we're all just a bunch of grown people in costumes playing in the dirt.
Now, it would stand to reason in your line of work that you've become quite close with director Zack Snyder, given what's on your resume. You had a pretty big breakout role in the astonishing film Army of the Dead. I believe you were lobbying for an opportunity to really express your acting talents in a rather sizable role. What is the story of how you got this memorable part as Chambers, alongside how special it was to have learned that you were greenlit for the character?
It was a whole emotional journey and something that really allowed me to grow as a human being. I had seen that he was casting for the film and I'd seen a breakdown of characters, and it's something that in Zach's world I'd done so much stunt doubling and I felt so incredibly grateful just to be doing that, that it was scary to admit that you wanted to do something else. It's scary to admit, especially with the amount of people that want to be in the acting world, the acting community, and get those opportunities. I'm sure it's something he's heard from people over and over and over. So it's you don't want to bother someone with your hopes and aspirations. That's just, who cares about that? That's the mentality I was in. I was like, I don't want to bother people and they're going to think I'm ungrateful. You can't just ask for that. Even though I knew I just wanted to audition or show my work, and of course I'm totally fine with any outcome. I by no means expected to actually get anything out of it. I just, to be able to show my work in a different light would be the honor. But I was struggling with that emotionally. I was like, they're going to think I'm ungrateful. They're going to think this. Oh my God. And I called a few friends, and my friends were the ones that really pushed me to just trust in the relationships that I already do have and trust in myself. And I do
Good.
work hard, and no one's going to think you're ungrateful. We've known you for years. They've known you for years. Like, get out of your head, get out of your own way. And I'm so thankful that I have the amazing, empowering friends I do, because it did encourage me to text Zach and be like, I would just be amazing to be able to show my work and so on and so forth. And of course, he didn't even think twice about it. He was just happy to have me audition. I don't know if he thought about it prior, but sometimes you do have to just like, hi. And they're like, of course, yes. I'm like, oh my God. The amount that I worked it up in my head and all of the unnecessary worrying really seems so silly afterwards. I'm like, wow, I thought he was going to hate me. You make it such a big deal. But he said, of course, he's happy to have me audition. And then I just went all out for it, because I didn't want it to feel like I didn't recognize the gift that was in front of me. I wanted to really treat that self-tape with all of the respect that it deserved. So I went out into this field. I had lighting. I brought my friend Wayne with me, who's worked on a lot of Zach projects as well, and in Army of the Dead. He was a fight coordinator and performer. We had sound, like a mic. He brought his Red camera out there, and we shot it as like a one-take short kind of thing, and then sent it off to Zach. And then I got the news, and I'm still on a high from that, apparently. I'm just reliving all of the emotions. It was such a cool experience. I felt like such a fraud, because everyone else seemed to have these huge resumes, and at the time they had all their little blue check marks, and I was like, oh, I'm really out of my element, but in an exciting way. That's where you grow.
Yeah, you are brilliant, Samantha. I really, really enjoyed your work there.
Thank you. It means a lot to me.
You've made it public before that you actually worked on a video game, or maybe a few of them, doing motion capture. What was the title of the game, or a few of them that you've worked on?
Some of the Call of Duty video games, I worked on, I think, 2 of those ones. The Ninja Gaiden video game. And there are a couple others that I guess getting to that age where it's hard to remember things. But the Call of Duty was so much fun.
Okay, so you did like motion capture, right? How was that whole process for you?
I did. You know, what was most exciting about doing the Call of Duty video games, my ex-husband was the stunt coordinator on it. So he was in charge of hiring some, and being a performer, an action performer, that meant that I got to sometimes go on and work for them. But what was most fun was that I did some mocap for male characters. So there was a scene, I think it was in Advanced Warfare, where the characters are in these exoskeleton suits. And when you're first person walking through one of the facilities, you see a group of men in one is in an exoskeleton suit, and then there's 5 around him fighting him, and they're showing what the suit can do. And they're in like a boxing ring or on a stage or something like that, fighting. And I was one of the guys. So I got to like have my guy posture, and like before starting the fight, we're like shaking out our arms and stretching. And I got destroyed in the fight because I was the smallest of the group in the big final move where the exosuit lifts up the person and then punches them down to the ground all the way down. That was me. Yeah. But I think it's always fun when you get to play something that you aren't usually allowed to. So no one seemed to know that I was secretly a girl, and that was fun.
Very, very cool. With your talents, I've noticed you've also dedicated a lot of your time to a couple of short films in addition. And one of the things I tend to constantly find are Mortal Kombat connections.
Mm-hmm.
You had the luxury of working with the legendary Daniel Bernhardt on Loss Prevention. Yes. I'm not sure if you're aware, but he was actually a lead role on a Mortal Kombat television series in relation to the classic movies called Conquest. How was it working with Daniel? I have such a high amount of respect for that guy, and I'd love to hear about your time working on such a project.
Oh my God. Well, that respect is very well earned on his behalf. He's just, when anyone in our community thinks of Daniel, you just have the biggest smile on your face. He's just such a wonderful, positive, jolly person who's also insanely talented. And he's got this very specific sense of humor where I feel like he plays it off like it's not a joke, but it's a joke, but it's also just his personality, and he's just one of my favorite people, just an amazing human being. And yes, I was aware of his work on Mortal Kombat from before, and but he's also been in so many legendary projects that how do you pick just one to admire him for? So
It's true.
yeah, it was such a treat. And in that specific short film, we were in a car together for the vast majority of it. So I got to spend so much one-on-one time with him, and it was true teamwork. And we had so many friends in common and had met each other prior on one thing or another. And I think it was nice to finally get to work with him in a closer capacity after hearing all of the stories. And as the legend goes, he is as amazing as everybody has said he is.
Before we jump to the last segment of the show, please tell the fans about some of the upcoming projects that you have cooking at the moment.
Oh, well, the one that I'm most excited about is called The Dresden Sun. I don't know if there's an official release date yet, so I'll keep that part tight-lipped. But it is a cyberpunk indie film, stars Christina Ricci, Mina Suvari, Stephen Ogg, Linus Roche. So it's Louis Chapman, Richard Blackman, just an amazing cast of amazing people. We all had the best time on it. I rock some purple hair and face tattoos.
Ooh.
So I'm excited about that. My characters are always way cooler and edgier than I am. I have a sewing machine. I make scented candles. I'm not even lying. This is that's what my real life is. So
That's great. That's great, Sam.
Yeah, it just, it misses the mark on what people expect from me, which I am happy for. But yes, The Dresden Sun, first time this level of feature director, Michael Ryan, who is just a lovely person to work with and led our team into hopefully creating magic. I haven't been able to see it yet. I'm so excited for it, but I think it will definitely be one to look out for, and hopefully start with press soon. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, I truly can't wait for that one. I'm a massive cyberpunk fan. You know what I mean? So
he had us play the cyber.
2077?
Yes, 2070. That was part of our homework and research that he had us do for it. So
that's so neat.
Right? When I was playing the game, I was like, I mean, I'm still no good at video games, so it's not like me playing the game was just have lower expectations for that. But seeing the visuals and the characters and the costumes, it was just making me so excited for the final project. Every time it's a visual effects heavy film, there's so many scenes where it's green screens, or this will be swapped out, that'll be swapped out. So it really is so hard to envision what it will look like. It's still one big question mark. So I think we're all excited to finally see.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, said from Samantha herself. Really keep an eye out for this because it's going to be a great one. So Sam, we're going to jump to the final segment of the show, which is called
Final Round.
So what we're going to do in this final round is sort of ask you some quick questions, try to get to know you a little more. So the first one being, what are some of your secret talents?
Ooh, well, I rock a sewing machine and I can do my own alterations. Also, I make a killer scented candle. So I would consider those secret talents. But I also like singing in my private time and dancing and pretty much performing in any way I can. But I don't show those ones as much. I'm a little shy.
Did you ever sing live before or make an EP?
When I was younger, but not as an adult. I'm way too terrified for that.
Very cool. If you were granted a superpower, what would it be?
It would be the ability to look into a person and see their missing piece and heal it.
Ah,
So that I could
wow.
bring like true internal joy and peace for people. I would want everyone to be able to experience that.
That's incredible. That is a very good answer. Your favorite music group, as well as your favorite movie?
Ooh. Favorite music group? I'd have to say it's just a single artist, and it would be Adele. There is something about her music that just pierces my soul and floors me, by which I mean has me sobbing on the floor. And what was the second half of that?
Favorite movie to watch?
And favorite movie to watch? Girl Interrupted. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Amazing ensemble cast. Deeply disturbed, and I love it.
If you were to come in contact with aliens, what would you say to them?
I'll be right back. And then I would never come back.
Oh, I love that. That is so good. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Food. All sorts of food. Good food, bad food, sweet food, salty food, all sorts of food.
Foodie. Oh, yeah. I can relate.
Okay.
And the last question. Tell us one of the funniest experiences you've ever had in your life that'll always just come back to you. You'll never forget it.
Oh, man. The pressure of it. I feel like my whole life it's a big joke. I'm always laughing at one thing or another. And
Did you ever pull any funny pranks in the past or anything like this?
I mean, I know I have. I just... God damn it. I hate myself under pressure. I laugh hysterically all day long and then can't think of a single thing when I'm asked.
Okay. We'll change the question. Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Ooh. You have nothing to prove. Mm-hmm. I can get caught up in wanting to accomplish or achieve or show my best self or feel like I need to show people, but I don't. And that has just calmed me totally, and I love it. And it's amazing advice for any person of any age.
Well said, Samantha. Well said. Well, this has been a blast. It's so good to have you here and talk about what we did. Now, before we exit,
I just remember.
Do you have any? Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, it took me a long time, but this one was my worst audition ever. I was 14. I was auditioning for some show with martial arts in it, and I was wearing my big wushu silk pants. And I did the scene, and they wanted me to do a couple martial arts moves. So I'm doing it. 14. It's a panel of people in front of me. I do this move. I land on the floor. I go to do a kip up, and my foot gets stuck in the pant leg of my other silk pant leg. And these are loose, baggy pants, by the way. So when I kip up, I throw my pants off of my body. And they fly across the room and land on the floor. So I land my kip up pantless. And it's a group of men, adult men in front of me. And all of their eyes go, whoop, and nobody wants to look at me in the eyes anymore. I'm standing there with no pants on. I have to run across the room to get them and throw them on. And I apologize profusely and leave. And of course I didn't get called back. It would probably be very concerning if I was called back, but oh my God, that is the day where I lost all respect for myself.
It's like, gosh. What's the chances, you know?
Yeah. Who expects to whip their pants off in an audition? Oh God, or maybe some people, but okay. Sorry, it took me a minute to remember.
No, that's great. That's quite the story. Do you have any social media platforms that you're active on?
Yes, I am fairly active on all of them now. I have Vero, which is a platform dear to my heart because no algorithms, wonderful people, artistry. Samantha Wynn on there. I have Instagram, sam.antha.win, Twitter, and then my official Facebook as well. So come check me out anywhere. I'll probably be posting silly photos and embarrassing photos of myself. Yeah.
That's great. And hopefully soon, some information about the Dresden Sun. Oh, so
yes,
stoked.
and that. I should mention that, yes.
I'm just here to help you out, Sam. I'm just helping you out.
I appreciate it.
Well, this has been, this has been great. And thank you so much for your time. And looking forward to talking with you again sometime.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
And there we have it. Samantha Wynn, everybody. We are really grateful towards all our supporters, and we would love to keep this train going. If you are a massive Legacy fan and are itching for more, you can also view Eric Jacobus, Michelle Lee, and Dan Southworth on this very channel. Kamidogu is excited to keep working on more material for you guys. But until next time, have fun, stay safe, and stay flawless.